Okay, it's back. I knew it was going to be coming back since when it left, the starter was grinding, but the owner did want it back. I'm guessing there's still EFI issues flushing fuel through it. I don't know how many tanks they actually put through the bike. Didn't fully solve the EFI issues, so it's still coming up with that error. Also, he wants the throttle cable replaced, even though it's working perfectly fine right now. There's no issues. I guess it is sticking in colder weather, which it was doing before, and he made the mistake of not covering up the bike, letting it get cold, and the cable was sticking. Also, he unfortunately let the battery go pretty low. He says it should still be okay, but I've had it on the recovery all night, so I'm about to hook it back up. It's not done yet, but I'm about to hook it up anyways and see if the bike will crank. When it came here yesterday, it would power on, but it would not crank. It kind of tried to crank the first try I did, but after that, it wouldn't really do anything. So definitely looks a little bit worse for the wear. They were definitely having some fun with this since it is a powerful bike. It's a 700. Also, they've lost an exhaust clamp on this side over here. I believe there was an exhaust clamp right here, and he's claiming they're getting some heat, excessive heat, or backfiring or something along those lines. So I've not checked the oil on this to see if it's over full. Let's just give it a quick check before I go and try and start it. It's to the line. Doesn't smell like gas, which is good, and it's still relatively clean looking. I bought 4 quarts for this, or 4 jug quarts, whatever you want to call them, and it only took 2, but I gave him the other 2 just in case if it needs them, if he checks it, if it seems low or whatever. I don't think it should necessarily use oil since it's not an overly old bike. Doesn't have too many kilometers on it. So we'll get the battery charger disconnected, get the battery reconnected, and we'll see if it will at least crank over. Okay, battery is reconnected. One thing I might end up doing this time is finding all electrical connectors, disconnecting, spraying them with solvent, or I can't think of the name offhand. So as you can hear, the fuel pump still kicks on. Spraying them, cleaning them, and then putting everything back together. So okay, I was not expecting it to start. Hey, at least I can drive it out of the garage. I don't have to push it out. So kind of cranks slow. So once I get it out, I will put it back on the charger. Put the seat back on. I won't put the side panels on. I'll just put the seat back on so I can drive it out comfortably. And I'm still waiting on parts. I'm waiting on the throttle cable to come in. As you saw, I just installed the starter. So I'm going to write on this. I'm going to put the starter I just pulled out back in here, but I'm going to write on this box new old, and on the other box I'm going to write original, just so I can keep track of what starter is what, and just in case we do want to try and get an OEM starter. They're very expensive. That's why we've been going with these cheap aftermarket starters. About 90 bucks versus 700. So as you heard, it cranked over and fired up perfectly fine. So it's nothing with that starter. It's just over time, that starter might start causing issues, which I'll show you in a second, what this starter just did to it again. Okay, this is the starter I just pulled out of the bike. As you can see, the end of the gears are grinded down pretty good. This is the original starter. It's not as bad, but still, same issue. And that's another way to tell for the original. You can tell it's about 3-piece starter. This is a 2-piece starter. At least I can tell the difference between them. But still, I'll put original on this box. I'll put aftermarket #1 on this one. Hopefully, we don't have to do another starter on this in the future. Since it does run and it shouldn't take any excessive cranking to hopefully get it back running again. I don't foresee seeing the starter causing any issues. Also, I don't know if this is a good idea or bad idea. I did grease the Bendix gear, and there's a little gasket seal between the actual starter and the block. I greased that as well, just to help protect the gear, hopefully provide a little bit of lubrication over time, and a little bit of grease around the actual starter itself on its rubber gasket. If you saw on the old ones, should help prevent any moisture from getting in there. As you can see, they were having fun. So I'm gonna get this buttoned up, get a few things moved, and kick this outside for now. Like I said, I'm waiting on parts. Also, somehow he broke that little cover up in there. That's where the throttle cable goes to. It had a plastic cover on it. He would like that plastic cover replaced if I can find it, because he did kind of break that trying to free up the throttle cable. The owner of this bike likes his booze, he likes his whiskey, he likes his booze all around sort of thing. And I don't think plastic parts last around him fairly well, so if you know what I mean. I think that's kind of what ended up happening with this. The bike, it is or was a Christmas present for his son, but I think Daddy's riding the bike more than his son is, because he does have other ones, but I don't think they're running at the moment either. And this is the newest one they have, and this is basically the only one that runs. So anyways, that's it for the backstory, a little bit more of the backstory on this MudPro. And surprisingly it fired, which I was not expecting it to start that easy. From what he was saying, I'll be posting another video right after this, talking about the supposed issues with this bike, and hopefully I can get some much needed help trying to source out some of these issues. I told the owner it could end up being the PCM, which I don't think it is. I think if we clean contacts, it might be okay. He said it seems like it cuts out when they're hitting bumps, so it almost sounds like a ground issue. So I made sure everything was tight on the starter, where it's where the grounds are, and on the battery. So possibly something just bounced loose. I really don't know. So we're going to go with it as I say it right now, and we will visit this later on. So I'll talk to him later. Please keep it redneck like always, and please subscribe and comment.